Welcome back. Former Vice President Kamala Harris is taking you inside her last-minute presidential campaign in the new memoir, 107 Days. And we're honored that she's back for the first time since the election. Please welcome Kamala Harris.
Wherever you go now?
Well, you know, a lot of people are coming up to me crying, actually.
Crying, yeah. I would be crying.
Yeah, but that was just me.
That's true.
Well, it's...
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hi.
You know,
Hi.
this is just wild to have you here today.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful to see you.
It's good to be with you guys. Thank you.
Because
Thank
it's
you.
been almost a year since the election.
Yes.
We're going to get into everything that's been going on since. You look good.
Thank you. That's very kind. Getting some sleep these days.
How are you?
I am well. Thank you for asking. I am well. I feel very blessed. My family is well. And, you know, in spite of everything that's happening in the world, I don't have any complaints.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
You know?
Well, let me take you back a little bit. There seemed to be so much momentum after President Biden stepped aside. There was a renewed sense of hope for Democrats, honestly, for everyone. It felt like there was this great option. Money was pouring into the tune of $1 billion. There were huge crowds at your events. And then election night came.
Yeah.
And it was 2016 all over again. And there's even a picture in the book that shows you and your husband when it appeared things weren't going quite the way maybe many of us had thought. What was going through your mind as the results came in?
So that chapter in the book was probably one of the most difficult things that I had to reflect on and write about. In fact, Doug and I, my husband, it wasn't until I was writing that chapter that we had ever talked about election night.
Wow. Oh.
We had never talked about election night.
It felt traumatic?
It was that traumatic. We had never talked about election night. So I'm writing it and I'm thinking about it. And, you know, and there were a number of people who I could kind of like, what was your, you know, like the different perspectives of a moment. And that's when Doug told me that he had been out campaigning with my brother-in-law in Pennsylvania, and we met back up in D.C. And I remember him being a little out of sorts, but there was so much happening. But on his way back from a rally where there was an incredible amount of enthusiasm, people on the ground were like, we got it, we're going to do this. And then they talked with a mutual friend of ours who was over at Fox News in the war room, who had been hearing about data that suggested things were not looking great in Pennsylvania. And the way I write about it, I mean, my poor husband, so he didn't want to put that on me. He went upstairs and he basically went in the shower and prayed that it was not going to be a bad night. And it was, you know, my family was there, everybody was there. I've always on election night done family and friends and dinner. But that night, I grieved in a way that I have not since my mother died.
Wow.
And it was, the pain was, it was not at all about losing a race. I knew what it was going to mean for the country. I was going to say for the family. And that's how I felt, for the country.
We all agreed.
I knew what it was going to mean.
Yeah.
But I knew.
Yeah.
And all I could say over and over again is, my God, my God, my God. It was very difficult. I mean, I know many people experienced it in different ways, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I was at that Philadelphia rally the night before, and I was sitting behind your husband, Doug, and Maya and your family. And I remember hugging them and them telling me, we got this. I felt so good going into Election Day, and then I read in the book that you did too. I went into Election Day thinking you were going to win.
Yeah.
So did you.
Yeah, I did.
So, I mean, it was a very tight race, but ultimately, if you have to pin it down to one thing, what was the primary reason, do you think, that you lost?
There are many factors, I think, that played into the outcome of that election. But I think probably one of the biggest in my mind is we just didn't have enough time.
You didn't have enough
time. We didn't have enough time.
Oh, yeah. Well, you didn't.
And, I mean, one of the reasons I wrote the book is this is unprecedented. Think about this.
Yeah.
That there's a race for president of the United States. The current sitting president is running for re-election. 3.5 months from the election, he decides not to run. The sitting vice president then takes the mantle, running against a former president of the United States who had been running for 10 years with 107 days until the election. And by the way, another piece of what is unprecedented and a bit historical about that race, it is the closest presidential race in the 21st century in terms of the outcome.
Wow.
The closest.
Say that again, because he likes to say over and over again he's got a mandate.
And that's part of why I wrote this book, because history will talk about this race. It is part of American history. And it was important to me that when history is written, that my voice be present about what that experience is.
A lot of people, I'm included, and President Biden also, think that a lot of it is about racism and sexism. And those are the reasons that you really lost, not because of the time thing. What do you say to that? Do you think this country will ever elect a woman president? In my lifetime, probably not.
I beg to differ. I believe that we will. And listen, you know this, and I've been honored to be on this show many times and talk with this esteemed group. Every office I've held, I've been the first. Usually the first woman, and then often the first woman and the first person of color. The only time actually I was the second, when I was the second black woman ever elected to the United States Senate in its hundreds of years history. So I'm not naive. Race and gender do play a factor in some people's minds about how they vote. But my history tells me, because I have been the first in all of those, that people ultimately want to know that this is the best person to do the job, and that's their focus, and that's how I've always run. I've never run as a woman or as a person of color.
But you and Hillary
I have
Clinton,
run because I believe I'm the best to do the job.
Hold on, let me go. All right. We're coming right back with more with Kamala Harris.
Am I right?
You are right. We are back with Kamala Harris. Alyssa has the question.
Madam Vice President, before the election, 2/3 of Americans felt that the country was on the wrong track, according to an NBC poll. On issues like the border, cost of living, the perception of crime, 43% of Americans felt like Joe Biden's policies had personally hurt them. Understanding that many people saw you as an extension of Joe Biden, were there glaring warning signs that when there's only two options to vote on, that you missed going into Election Day?
I write about it, as you all know, in the book, and I know that's probably the first chapter you read, is my chapter on The View. But it really, the book is about a reflection. And that day in that interview, for me, really was symbolic of the issue. It did not create the issue, but it was symbolic of the issue, which is that I'm a loyal person. And I didn't fully appreciate how much people wanted to know there was a difference between me and President Biden. I thought it was obvious. And I didn't want to offer a difference in a way that would be received or suggested to be a criticism. And you know, in the campaign, full time I was pointing out the differences. My theory of the case was we need to bring costs down. We're going to extend the child tax credit. We're going to have Medicare cover home health care for people, including people in the sandwich generation who are raising young children and taking care of their parents. It was about we're going to take on price gouging, bringing down costs. And I thought I was making the point. And I realize now that I didn't fully appreciate that how much of an issue it was.
Yeah, that President Biden was deeply unpopular. I did realize that. And during your appearance, and you write about it, you say, everything about my appearance on The View was going well until it wasn't. And if you recall, you were here 28 days before the election. And I asked you if there was anything you would have done differently than President Biden during the past 4 years. And you said, quote, there is not a thing that comes to mind, end quote. You write you had no idea, you just pulled the pin on a hand grenade. In the moment, I knew. The Trump campaign weaponized your answer against you, my question. And some, including James Carville and Jake Tapper, point to that answer as a turning point in your candidacy. Do you think that moment tipped the election?
No. No.
Good, because Sonny doesn't want to take the blame.
There was kind of a confessional happening here. No. No.
Solve you?
Exactly. No. There were many things. I mean, listen. I do believe one of the biggest deciders of the outcome of that election was that the American people were sick of things being so expensive.
Yes.
And wanted that the prices would come down. And that's where, this is part of why I wrote the book, which is let's remember in those 107 days what Donald Trump was talking about. Yeah. First of all, he said his number one priority and the number one thing he would do is bring down costs.
Yeah.
That's what he said. And I believe there are a lot of people who voted for him believing that that's what he would do. Fast forward to today.
Yeah. Hello.
Prices are higher, the cost of food is higher, inflation is higher, unemployment is higher. He lied.
Yeah.
He lied. Meanwhile, there are certain promises he did keep, which is he was going to weaponize the Department of Justice and go after his political enemies, that he was going to silence critics against him, that he was going to fulfill whatever his fragile ego needed through the tool of our federal government. That he did, whatever he needed to do to enrich himself, literally his pockets, not to mention his ego, he has done. And I think it's important as we move forward to realize that they did what they said they were going to do. I heard a story about a friend of mine was telling me about a Cuban American whose partner was being deported to Sudan, and that person was a big Trump supporter, and thought, well, why is this happening? Well, but he said he was only going to go after criminals.
Right. That's what he said.
He lied.
Tell you what, they ain't singing Voy a votar por Donald Trump. They ain't singing that anymore in Miami.
But part of what we have to remember about that election is I think there are lessons about you've got to listen to what they tell you. And this is bigger than Trump. And this is part of what I also write about in this book. We are talking about an agenda that has been decades in the making.
Yep.
Yes.
For which we are now witnessing a high velocity event that feels like chaos because it's all happening so rapidly. But it is about the implementation, the swift implementation of a plan that has been decades in the making, the Federalist Society, the Heritage Foundation.
Right.
This did not just happen overnight. He has been a useful tool for an agenda that is much broader than the one individual. Let's be clear about that.
Yes.
So we're going, but we're coming right back. Hey, we're back with Kamala Harris. Sarah has the next question. Sarah.
Yes, Madam Vice President, I want to ask you about your relationship with President Biden. And I mention that because a few weeks ago we were talking here, and I'm not a Washington insider. I don't realize your teams and how insulated you are. And I said I tended to think your relationship was what you write, but that your teams were problematic at times. And you do write in the book, my feelings for him were grounded in warmth and loyalty, but they had become complicated over time with hurt and disappointment. What did you mean by that?
Well, I talk about certain instances where that was how it felt. But I want to be really clear. This book is not about Joe Biden. And I love Joe Biden. And I also am very clear and have made a point of making it clear. Joe Biden was a highly capable president who accomplished great things that history will talk about, and did in so many ways a lot of very hard and deep work that was about not only a focus on the American family and the American people, but on America's standing around the globe. And you know, this person and what we just saw in terms of a presentation at the United Nations, I talk about it. I talked about, remember in the debate?
Yeah.
They laughed at him the last time he was in front of the UN.
Yeah, this time
You
they're not, though.
you watched, you remember just about, I don't know, several weeks ago, that meeting with Xi and Kim Jong-un and Putin?
Yeah.
You think they're not laughing?
Oh, they are.
As they create a new axis of partnership, what's happening? You bring people into the Oval Office. I have spent a lot of time in the Oval Office. I have spent time in the Oval Office with the president, receiving our allies and our friends from around the world. And consistently, we have seen Donald Trump bring people into the Oval Office, be they a United States governor or the head of a state of a friendly nation, and embarrass them and ridicule and demean them. That is not what a president does. This individual who occupies our White House right now
The People's House.
has decided that he will be an emperor in his mind who will demonstrate his power by demeaning and belittling and making people feel small. But this is...
And dividing.
But here's the thing. The American people are stronger than that. We are smarter than that. You can see in polling how his popularity is nosediving.
Yeah.
And I do believe that moving forward, we're going to remember that the power ultimately is with the people. And we have to remind folks that they cannot let their light and their spirit be diminished by who happens to be in the Oval Office at this moment. And that's part of what I hope to achieve with the book, is to remind us, people by the tens of thousands, for those of you who were there, came to those events with such enthusiasm and optimism and, dare I say, joy about the possibilities for our country. And that light is inside people. It's there, and it cannot be diminished or extinguished by an election or an individual. And we have to remember that. That light is inside us. And it's inside each of us, and we have to see it in each other and let that guide us through this very dark time.
Before we go, I don't know if we're leaving. I think this is it, right?
You know, they don't.
How long can we keep her?
I mean,
I'll hang out.
I really.
I'll take her for 4 years.
We all really love you, and we love Joe Biden also,
Yes,
like
of
you do.
course.
But I want to know, for the book, did he read the book? And do you speak to him now?
I do speak to him.
Yes. And how's
I-
that relationship now?
It's a good relationship.
Yeah.
And it's a relationship that is based on mutual respect, having been in the trenches together,
Yeah.
and admiration. And it's sincere, sincerely.
Okay, good.
So
I'd like to
now-
know that you're friendly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we have more with Kamala Harris when we come back. With Kamala Harris. Sonny has the next question.
Yes, Madam Vice President, since Trump has taken office, everything that you warned about has happened. Do you sometimes just want to scream, "I told y'all so," and feel free to do it right now? I mean,
Sonny, nothing comes to mind.
That was excellent. So I do want to ask you, because you've not held back your criticisms of President Trump today. Do you think that there's anything he's done right since coming back into office?
does anything come to mind?
You know, nothing comes to mind.
Nothing. Anna, your question is next.
I can leave it at that, but let me just say that I'm sure there are some things, but the reality is he is destroying our government, our institutions, the principles and values upon which we are founded. I mean, what he has done to attack a free and independent press, free speech, what he has done to attack the people of our country in such a vicious way, I find there are no redeeming qualities.
He's so bad, he's even destroyed the Rose Garden.
Yeah.
But, you know, you were one of the first people that stood up to Trump. And I remember watching you in that debate, the only debate he would have with
Yeah,
you.
I wanted more.
And you wiped the floor with him. That's why he didn't want more. So is that the strategy for Democrats going forward, fighting back more in the mode of Trump, going, you know, into the gutter? What is the strategy for Democrats fighting forward?
I think there's some work to be done, which includes one of the things that I think the 24 election made very clear is the American people want their immediate needs met. And, you know, we paid a lot of good attention and time on issues like the infrastructure bill. If we had done it differently, and I think we should have considered doing it differently, we would have instead, in the Build Back Better bill, put the family plan before we did that. And so we would have done affordable childcare and paid leave and addressed some of the more immediate needs of people. So going forward, I think that has to be an imperative. We will have the plan for what needs to happen in the long term because those are the most intractable issues, but we need to meet the immediate needs of the people. Second, I'd say, look, I'm kind of I'm a bit done with the punditry around everybody looking for a messiah, the savior of the Democratic Party. There are so many superstars in the party.
Yes,
That's true.
And who are doing very, very good work. And it is important, I think, that we see that instead of having these endless conversations about who is the one, understand there are many. And similarly with the issues. What is the one message that Democrats need to have? There are many, but I would frame them in the context of the immediate needs of the people. And then, you know, I guess my last point is this. You got to fight fire with fire. And
I know.
you know,
Will you run again?
And so,
Will you run again?
going
Will you
forward,
run
that's
again?
what-
You like to run again?
That's not in my immediate
Not
focus.
right.
I'm doing my book tour, and please everybody
That's
come
right.
out. I'm going to a lot of cities.
And in November, Anna is going to be in Miami moderating with
That's
you.
November 20th.
November 20th.
20th.
Right,
yeah.
And moderating the book tour
Yes.
in Miami. So if you haven't been
say all
deported
that.
yet, come and see us.
But I don't know why,
Maybe or maybe not, she'll be moderating.
why do you give me these things to say? Now listen, y'all. Our thanks to Kamala Harris. The new book, 107 Days, is out now, and you can scan the QR code on your screen to buy a copy. But you know what? Members of... What?